Hey, profs. Welcome on in. My name's Rob Lightfoot, proud two-time alum of Rick Edelman College of Communication, class of 2000-2001. This is Beyond the Brown and Gold.
I'm Jessica Kennedy. I'm the co-host here, also a two-time proud Rowan alum, class of 2008 from the Rick Edelman College of Communication and Creative Arts, and 2015 from the College of Education. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kennedy.
Jess, we have a first on the show today.
Tell us about it.
It's a doctor.
Well, it's not our first doctor.
Not our first doctor, but, you know.
Don't forget Dr. Mark Allen.
We had Dr. Mark Allen. He's a great guy and all like that. But this doctor is Dr. Kay Flannery.
Kay Flannery is a Rowan Virtua SOM grad. So she's our first medical school alum that we've had on the show, which was really fun because admittedly, Rob and I were wondering, what's this going to be like? We haven't interviewed a medical school alum yet. No. And it was so much fun. Wait till you hear. I mean, she tells us all the good medical stuff about her career in surgical oncology. So we do get into some serious stuff, but she was so fun.
Yeah, she has a lot of fun stories. One of them we had to cut. But
sorry, you can't know everything.
But the other ones are pretty good too. So check out Kay on this episode.
No pressure, but you are the first medical school alum that we've had on the show.
Oh my goodness.
She sounds terrified.
I know, as if she wasn't nervous enough.
What
I had to
did
play
I
that.
agree to?
No,
Oh my goodness.
This is gonna be totally fine.
Yeah, you're in good hands with us.
Are we? Am I though? Okay, we'll find out.
So we like to start by asking everybody to go back. So obviously your undergrad wasn't here at Rowan, but where did you go for undergrad?
I went to New York University.
Okay, so where did you grow up? How did you get to
So
NYU?
it's a long story. I always say that I'm from New York, but I'm actually not really from New York. I was born in Seoul, Korea, South Korea. My dad was a diplomat and got stationed in Arlington, VA. So we moved to the United States when I right after my 7th grade. So the summer after 7th grade, we moved to Alexandria, Virginia. So I finished my middle school and high school there. Then my dad was sent back home. His post was over in Arlington and was sent back home to his government job. And by then I had decided, I was going to stick it out here, had a scholarship to a liberal arts school somewhere in the South. I won't name the school. So told my parents, I'm not going home with you, and threw that bomb to them. And they said, oh, you're not going home with us? Then we're not going home either. We can't leave you out here by yourself. So we
Were you
settled.
able, or were you like set pretty much in your ways at that point? Or
Well,
like...
no, I had a full scholarship to go to this school. And so I wasn't going to really need to worry about the finances and really wasn't looking to go back home. But just the idea of like, hey, mom and dad, I took care of everything. I don't need to go home with you.
Yeah,
and
they're like, no,
nice
thank you.
Fat chance that we won't go home either.
Wow.
So that's how it happened. And then so we settled in New York. My parents had a couple friends there and some relatives. So we settled there. I took a year off during that year to go back home to settle everything for my dad's job. And then came back, and during that year off, my mom was like, well, I might as well apply to NYU and see what happens, and ended up going there.
So I want to go back to middle school.
Yes.
I'm going all the way back. That's
Yeah.
hard that you you
yeah.
transitioned into middle school, which is a hard enough time as it is for
Awful.
a person. What was
Awful.
that like?
So I obviously didn't speak English fully. I had a tutor, so I remember like getting off the bus or getting on and off the bus thinking, oh my gosh, like where are they sending me? Have no idea. We started summer school to sort of just get our feet wet before we started the full year. It was tough. It wasn't easy, but I remember just like overnight, all of a sudden things making sense, or me being able to say things a lot more clearly. But yeah, it wasn't easy. It was tougher for my brother, who started his first grade here, and so he really knew nothing. Oh my God, this poor kid. And I remember my mom telling me later on that he gave him money every day to buy himself an ice cream in the lines, cafeteria line, just so that he had something to look forward to during the day.
Ice cream is something to look forward to.
As an incentive? That's what they give me here at the university.
Ice cream.
Can you finish my work?
One
they give me
ice cream per day. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, so not easy.
Does he like ice cream still, or does he associate it with bad memories?
Probably bad memories. I'll have to ask him.
Every time the Mr. Softy truck comes, he's like,
It's
no,
too much. Yeah.
no. Oh my goodness. So what were you going to study at NY, or what did you study? You said you applied to an art school?
So it was a liberal arts school. Okay. I had always known that I wanted to be a physician. But when I went to NYU, I also knew not to do the traditional route. I didn't want to be sort of the chemistry major, pre-med track. I took all the pre-med courses, but I wanted to do something a little different. So I was a sociology major. So took a lot of criminology courses. I took some of the pre-law courses, economics, all sorts of stuff, so that I thought that I could get myself more well-rounded. Decided to take about 2 years off. I didn't want to go right into medical school, so I actually went to a master's program at Rutgers, did a master's in public health. Took 2 years to work as a researcher at Cornell Med School, and then came to Rowan to start my med school years.
Could we, because there's a video of you
Yes.
that I want to rewind to,
Yes.
that folks can watch online. I will probably link it somewhere. This one, it's
Just Google her, you'll
yeah,
find
Google, find. But I kind of want to go back to that story and how you kind of knew you were going to be a doc. Could you share that with folks? The story that you shared in that story.
Yes. So I was in kindergarten, and I remember it was like a career day in kindergarten from my memory. And there were different stations, that you could go. And I guess one was like a teacher station. There was a medical station, and so I remember there being like a nurse's cap and a stethoscope. So I ran over to that table and grabbed the stethoscope, and my teacher stopped me and said, "No, you can't grab that. That's for the boys."
Wow.
I said, "Oh, really?
I don't like
I'm not
that.
gonna grab this." So I came home and I told my mother I'm going to be a doctor. Somebody told me I can't be one.
What did your mother say?
My mom said, "Oh, okay. Well, we can do this." And so then it stuck in their minds, and so every point where I said, I don't want to do this, my parents then said, "Remember, you said you were going to do this."
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, and they kind of pushed me along the way too. But yeah, it all stemmed from a teacher telling me you can't do it because it's for the boys only.
So have you always been stubborn?
Yeah, we just said,
Wow,
yeah,
Jess came
I'm
out
not
fire.
going home. Yeah,
You're the
not
first-
going home, Mom.
You're our first med interview, and you're also the first time she's asked that question.
No, but I love
We're like
that.
5 minutes into the conversation.
I told you we would make you feel comfortable.
Wow.
I'm making Rob feel uncomfortable.
I'm very
this
uncomfortable
is
right
This
now.
is too soon. Too soon.
Yeah. We barely know each other.
Now we do.
Well, I guess you got to answer the question now.
Right. No, I'm definitely stubborn. That's why I'm a surgeon.
Yeah.
Surgeons are very dogmatic. Do we get to control? We're the captain of the ship. I get to sort of man the ship and say, we're going in this direction. I'm not even only a surgeon, but I'm a cancer surgeon. So anything goes, nope, the cancer takes priority. We have to do it this way. And these are your options. And this is how we have to do it. It's sort of like steering the ship. And I think a little degree of stubbornness is definitely necessary to do.
Yeah,
what
stubborn's
goes on.
not bad, especially for a little girl being told she can't be a doctor. She's like,
And,
yes,
yeah.
I can.
Look, I have been told by plenty of people that I'm stubborn, and they don't use it in a positive context. So I'm coming at it from
I'm sorry, Rob. Do you
some
need
history.
therapy right now? Did I hit a nerve?
I think a little bit.
I'm sorry.
A little bit. So let's talk about your area of expertise. Like,
Yes.
what made you pursue that area?
So I didn't know that I wanted to be a surgeon. In fact, when I first got into medical school, I was already married. And I remember having a dinner with my in-laws and my husband. And, it was like a celebratory dinner. And I remember telling all of them, they asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm not sure, maybe a pediatrician, or I want to be an ER doc, definitely not surgery. Because it's going to take too long. And then I shadowed a bunch of doctors in my first year at Rowan Medical School, and So I shadowed an ER doc a bunch of times because I really thought I was going to be an ER physician. But every shift that I came back, I would end up asking my attending, hey, whatever happened with the so-and-so patient? And he'd be like, I don't know. We sent him upstairs. I guess he got taken care of. And so there was always that question of what happened to that patient and the continuity of care. That's not the focus of the ER. ER is really triage. Are we saving this patient? Make sure that they're not crumping and then get them to the next level. It's not necessarily definitive care. So I kept asking what had happened with that patient. So didn't like that maybe so much. I then shadowed a pediatrician. I decided the parents ask too many questions that they don't want to, but they don't listen to you. Like, okay, so this is the answer. Well, I'm not doing that. Well, that is the answer. Like, oh, so I said, okay, I don't know if I can do pediatrics. And then I shadowed a surgeon who allowed me in the OR and allowed me to hold the blade and make the incision on somebody's back. And I still remember how that knife felt in my hand. And I'm telling you, as soon as I cut it, I was like, well, whatever this is, I have to do. And I came home and I told my husband.
You had to be like nervous as all get out.
Did you like that?
No, and the way that the skin cuts, like, it's so smooth.
Can you cut her skin right now?
Well, you get me back about the stubborn comment?
Exactly.
Jeez Louise.
No, but there's something about it where I still remember that feeling. And I said, wow. And they tell you, like, if you read books about becoming a surgeon, if you talk to other people about what field of medicine that you want to choose, not a lot of people will tell you, gosh, I know the moment that I knew that this was the field that I belonged in, that was the moment I made that. I made that incision. I said, whatever this I just did, I have to do. And so I came home, told my husband, I don't know how many years it's going to take, but I'm going to have to be a surgeon.
Okay, so speaking of the years, because
Yes.
I've committed a lot of years to watching Grey's Anatomy in my life, but
Very well.
I never quite...
Is it real? No.
I don't want to know what happens in the on-call room. So I never quite grasped the process, right?
Yes.
So like from all of the school steps, what you're, when you're interning, when you're a resident, walk me through... I need this lesson. Walk me through
how long it takes.
Yeah, what it takes. What are the steps to get from place to place?
So let's start from college, since we're a college station, right? So you do 4 years of college. So do some pre-medical years of training. I chose to do a master's degree and work outside. So I was considered a non-traditional student. Medical school is usually about 4 years, all right? I trained as a general surgeon, and that's usually 5 to 6 years of residency. So the first year is called the internship, where you do all the other stuff. You're handling medical calls, so you're not just doing surgeries. And then the later 4 to 5 years, you're focusing on whatever field that you dedicated yourself to. And for me, that was general surgery. So a lot of bowel surgery, weight loss surgery, gallbladder, somebody comes in with a trauma. I dealt with all of that. And then I did a 1-year fellowship training in breast surgical oncology, and I did that at Penn. So, 6 years after graduating medical school.
Okay.
And where is, in that sort of process, there's got to be some attrition that takes place. Where does that happen?
I mean, I think it depends on what field you go into and how far you are and how dedicated you are. And, again, it depends on what field.
Like, did any of your folks that you started with not come through?
Yeah, some decide. During medical school, some people decided, there were a couple medical school classmates of mine where after maybe a year or two, they decided this wasn't for me, dropped out. I also have some classmates where they chose to do a certain residency field, like, chose surgery, chose OB-GYN, and after like a year, they decided this is really not for me and changed into a different specialty. So it can happen, throughout the process.
Did you have a backup plan for all this in case it didn't work out?
I certainly did not have a backup
She
plan.
did not. She was remembering her kindergarten experience.
Right. Well, I will say, because I was a project manager at Cornell Med School. I belonged in the Department of Public Health, so I handled a lot of grants and projects. And I remember talking to my boss when I told her, hey, I got into med school, but if this doesn't work out, should I go? And she says, you're going to go. You will always have a job back here if you want to, but you will not come back here. I'm telling you right now. And I still talk to her.
Oh, cool.
I talked to her niece for career planning actually last year. So she had told me, okay, if you ever felt the need to come back, no questions asked, you'll have your job back. But I never needed to do that.
So how pivotal is that time, or was your time at Rowan Virtua SOM? Was that really kind of where you got your feet under you?
Oh,
Any
gosh.
professors that stand out?
Yeah, I will say I thought about my process, I guess, or progress, I should say, throughout my years in college, medical school, before and after. And if I really have a connection with a particular school, it's not, did I have a great time in my college? Of course. Being in New York was fantastic, phenomenal, all of the above. But the connection that I had with my medical school was just bar none. I mean, I still remember the first day I walked through the admissions, head of admissions remembering me from my interview. I still talk to her. I saw her at a function for the medical school a couple months back. Dean, who's been there as the school dean the day I was there, he's still there. He still remembers me. And it's not a pretend like, oh, I think I remember you. Like, they know you. They know your name. They knew your background. There's something about this medical school and how close everybody was that I really know wholeheartedly this is where I got my start.
We talked about a backup plan, but was there something else besides surgery that you wanted to do besides?
I really like
you had something
OB-GYN.
else.
So you call it the big four. So when you start, you have to figure out what field you want to get into. So there are different rotations that you do as a third-year medical student. And I was fortunate enough to get out the big fours first. And those are internal medicine, OB-GYN, pediatrics, and surgery. And I remember surgery was my last one out of the four. OB-GYN, it was my second rotation, and I had a great time. I connected well with the moms. I hadn't had any kids yet, but I remember just like that. I mean, it's such an intimate environment to walk patients through a difficult pregnancy and then a delivery. I really remember thinking, gosh, maybe I want to do this. And then I hit my surgical rotation. I'm like, no, I belong here.
What is the mental load of the kind of work that you do?
I make light of it. I always tell patients I'm an optimist because most days I have to be. You can't have a breast cancer surgeon not be an optimist, because if I'm not an optimist, where would my patients be,
Sure.
right? So by design, I think that a breast surgeon has to be as optimistic as possible. But it is really by design, because most breast cancer patients actually do very well. This is why we recommend mammograms, so that you capture breast cancer at an earlier stage. And as long as you capture it at an earlier stage, patients do well. But having said that, once in a while, I definitely have patients who are so young, who have children that are very close to my kid's age. Somehow these patients just tug at you, connect with you in a really different way. And when these patients do not do well, it's sometimes I go home where I just have to tell my husband, don't talk to me. I tell my kids, Mommy can't talk. I talked all day, first of all. I spend my whole life in the office, even in the whatever it is, always talking patients off ledge, counseling them, talking to the husbands after the surgery. Your wife is going to be okay. Your mom's going to be okay. I talk all day, literally. But those days where I see my patients who almost are mirror images of either myself or my family members, my friends, and when they don't do well is where I really have to take a step back. That mental load of that is tremendous.
And how do you take care of yourself in those times? Besides telling everybody to leave you alone, which is fair.
I think spending time with your own family members, doing things that makes you happy. Usually I take a moment, I cry it out, scream, whatever I need to do for that brief moment. And then I just come back downstairs. I spend time with the kids. They're still there, right? Nobody still made dinner. So somebody needs to still make
Darn
dinner.
kids never give you a break.
No, my husband just waited for me to come down to figure out what we want for dinner. And then he'll say, well, I didn't know what you wanted. So
A pizza.
So yeah, whatever. So I still nobody still took care of dinner. All right. Why not? I did, however many surgeries. I did a radio show. I came home. Still, I got to make dinner. No problem. So I come down. But it's that life goes on, Nothing changed. My kids keep you so humble. The craziness that goes on in my daughter's middle school craziness, the drama, all this, no matter what happens, life goes on. The kids go on. Kids bring you all sorts of drama. And that's what I think ultimately keeps me grounded and keeps me still to say, okay, snap out of it. You have to do better. And then, of course, it's the patients who give you the strength. I have to get up and go because still have all sorts of other patients the next day on my schedule, whether it's in the operating room or in the office, that need to be counseled, that need to be treated. And so I have to figure it out, and I do.
And talk about, let's use this opportunity for an educational piece.
Yeah.
When do you advise that folks get screened?
So starting at 40, if you are not at a high risk of developing breast cancer, meaning you don't have any family history and whatnot, at a minimum, you should start annual screening mammogram at the age of 40. If you have a family history of breast cancer, then at least 10 years before the earliest age of breast cancer diagnosis. So if your mom had breast cancer at 45, then you should actually start your mammogram prior to the age of 40. It's usually 10 years before.
So only if there's breast cancer? What if there's non-cancerous tumors and things like that? Still early on, or
No,
that's still kind of
okay.
in the norm?
That's in the norm.
And then tell us about, is your husband in what does he do? What does he do?
He doesn't cook dinner.
He doesn't cook
We
dinner.
know that.
Look, I'm not picking on you, buddy. I'm gonna bro code. I got you.
He'll always say, no, if I cook dinner, you always criticize and you want something different. It's
not
your
wrong.
fault, okay?
No,
he's an attorney, actually. He does zoning and land use law, so
Okay.
very far away from medicine.
Yeah, extremely far away.
Yeah, no, he won't like any of this.
So tell us how you both manage. I mean, you're both pretty big careers here.
Yes, my husband's actually a partner in his firm, and so...
So how are we managing this life? We're cutting people open. We're doing this. What are we doing?
Got 4 kids, right? Let's talk about your kids.
Four kids. So my daughter is the oldest. She is in 6th grade. And then I have 3 boys, age 10, almost 7, almost 5. So got 4 kids under the age of 13. We're about to hit that teenage years. But it's oh gosh. But there's never a dull moment in my house. We just actually did a road trip for spring break, and it was
Where'd we go?
nonsense. We drove down to Virginia.
Drove. That's aggressive
Drove.
now. Okay, that's aggressive.
I was pretty aggressive because I had an itinerary we were going to hit. We actually then drove to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and so I had an Airbnb that I rented. It was nuts. My kids were like throwing up at one point, like a couple times, but we made the itinerary. We had a good time. Or I like to say so.
Okay. Did you survey your audience or what?
No, but there's sports, stuff that they're doing every day, family stuff. And then, of course, what I do in my job, there's a lot that I do for my job within the confines of, say, 9 to 5. The surgeons don't have 9 to 5 work days. But even if we were to have that, I do a lot of stuff also outside of my primary job. And so there's a lot going on. And then, of course, my husband and his firm There's definitely lack of time, but we've always, even as I came into medical school and we made the choice that I was going to go into a surgical subspecialty, we always said we wanted a family, that we never put that on the back burner. In fact, my daughter was born when I was a fourth-year medical student.
Wow.
So I went to all of my general surgery residency interviews fully pregnant out to here. They're not allowed to ask you questions about pregnancies or kids or anything. It was unavoidable. I'm like, out to here. So all the program directors are like, do we need to take a break here? There was never a question of all of that. And then I went on to have two of my boys in my surgical residency training years. And so that part we never really wanted to sacrifice in any way. Always made it work. Had to figure it out.
All right, let's talk about something. So in researching you, a good Google search on you, found a great video of you talking about why you didn't want to be a surgeon. So you did mention earlier, kind of in passing, that you didn't really want to be a surgeon at first. But in a video, you kind of go in depth about why that was a decision that you were thinking of at that time. Can you talk a little bit about that conversation, about why you didn't think you wanted to pursue it because of the time it took?
So, again, I came into medical school already having been married, and we never wanted to compromise our goals to have a family. And traditionally, a lot of the surgical careers can take a really grueling years of training, and the lifestyles may not be so compatible with family life. And so that's really, I didn't want to necessarily go into a field where I was going to have to really spend a long time training, but also be in a male-dominated, field where family wasn't looked at as an important goal. But I want to say I feel really very strongly about this. I feel that I was able to cultivate all of this because I was a medical school in our SOM community. Because even when I started in the school, everybody is like so well congealed, very family oriented. It was a smaller class. Everybody knew each other. And there were a lot of opportunities where you could reach out to shadow somebody, and that's how I was able to do all these things through different organizations. And so I was able to really look at different types of doctors, different types of surgeons. But a lot of the times, even with all of that, I didn't see a lot of female surgeons, certainly not those that had families, certainly that were intact and with children. And so a lot of the times, I will still say, even the attendings that I keep in touch with now and are very close with, I remember a couple of the attendings telling me, look, this might not be a good field for you. You want to have children, you already have one kid, it's going to be really cumbersome for you to really, do all the stuff you want to do. It was challenging for sure, but, in the end, we figured out how to do it. And so a lot of the times it's really a top question. I will say I do a lot of mentoring for both college and medical students, and it's a lot of the questions that I get asked are, how do you maintain a work-life balance as a surgeon with all the children that you have and stay successful in all the jobs that you hold?
Does that frustrate you to be asked that question because you're a female, like your husband? Well, Rob did ask, how are you both balancing it? Because you have
Right.
high-level
Yeah,
jobs.
you
So
got that
kudos
going
to Rob. But usually
Yes.
that's not the case. It's
Right.
usually the moms being asked that question.
Well, I mean, the moms are, even in this day and age, my husband does so much. And all joking aside, I would not have been able to do any of the stuff without my husband's support. He really, there was not even a moment where I decided, hey, I'm going to go into surgery. No problem if that's what you want to do. You want to do a fellowship? No problem if that's what you want to do. We will figure it out. And he, even now, because I'm a surgeon, a lot of, I don't have a lot of flexibilities when I'm in the OR or when I'm in the office. So God forbid there are any emergencies with any of the kids, my husband has to figure it out. And he is always the go-to parent for a lot of the things. And so I could not do any of this without his help. But having said that, as a mom, I do a lot of the planning, what goes on day to day. I'm the one that has to sort of figure out. I'm the one still organizing the play dates. Yep. I'm still the one that's getting the gifts together. Whose birthday party are we going to next? And so we do a lot of the household work we do. And like I said, all joking aside, I do make dinner almost every night. No one else is going to make it. And so I think that question is somewhat appropriate. You know, how do you manage to do all that and still maintain your professional career? I don't get offended by that question when I get asked. I think that if anything, I like that people are asking these questions openly, and I'm very open about it. If you have any questions, that's why I try to stay very active. This is one of the reasons why I really wanted to be part of the Alumni Association. It was sort of the mentoring of the students, keeping the connection with, where I used to be to where I am now, and sort of teaching the students how to go through and knowing that there are people and places where you could reach out for help or for any type of advice. And so I'm very open about that. Ask me anything, particularly when it comes to having a family while becoming a surgeon.
And how is Dr. Flannery as a patient herself?
Terrible.
Are you going in with I already know this stuff? Or
No. I think, look, I hate that. I always say, look, what is it? What do you want me to do? My primary care doctor is a friend of mine. She actually was a senior resident to me when I was an intern. And so I've known her a long time. And she always yells at me, you gotta, exercise. Nah, I don't have time. You sure? You gotta exercise. Oh, I'll give it a try. She texts me, did you exercise? No, I forgot, So I'm not the best patient, but usually it's sort of I'm not the one where hey, I Googled everything and so this is what's going on. I don't do that.
So what are we doing then on our free time?
So this is a controversial question because
good.
Yes.
See, we ask the hard questions. That's
what
the show's all about.
So I recently picked up Dollhouse rehabbing as a hobby.
Really?
And this has been
Wait, you're painting it?
So I'm painting it. I'm building miniature furniture. I'm doing wallpaper. So this all
Remember, you're
started,
sharing this with your friends, too. You want to put all this out there?
So it started because one of my partners, who's a breast surgeon, she had a dollhouse. She never finished when her mom gave it to her. And then her daughter, she tried to do it. And so they never finished this. So it was a half-done dollhouse. And she told me a couple years ago, hey, do you want to do this with Ella, your daughter? Sure, no problem. And then I inherited that, and we just blew it up. I mean, I probably spent that whole paycheck on that dollhouse. Paint samples, wallpaper.
What? That's so
building
fun.
furniture. I'll show you guys pictures later.
That's what's going to be promo for the show. It's just going to be the dollhouse picture.
So then, of course, I don't do anything half-assed. I'm going to do it full, and I'm going to do it more than full. So we finished that, and it was the Taj Mahal. My partner was this is out of control. I did not think you were going to get this crazy with this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given this to you. And then, so what I'm doing now is actually people are texting me, hey, I saw pictures that you posted. Can you redo my dollhouse? My best friend's waiting for me to do it. And so I'm getting
You're putting subway tile in the kitchens and stuff
I do also, wallpapering, all sorts of stuff. And I'm building little furniture.
I still remember my childhood. Rob can't believe it. He's is this a thing?
I
still remember my
crazy.
childhood dollhouse.
Yeah.
We had it. It was in my sister's room for the longest time. It was on a round table. Then my parents had bought a glass, almost like a Lazy Susan. So you could spin the dollhouse while you played with it. It was beautiful, but I never thought about rehab. I don't even know where it is.
No, it's fun. And I think there's something because I'm still using my hands. also I didn't realize that I was a creative person, but as a breast surgeon, you do have to be creative as to how you're going to make your scar. And so I realized in recent years, especially when doing the Dollhouse, I must be a creative person. And it allows me that avenue in a fun way. I started to do it with my daughter, but now it has gotten way out of proportion.
She's
so my
like,
daughter
"Ma."
gets all stressed out, like, I'm going to mess this up. And so we play. Usually I'll do this, and then the kids all come upstairs. They'll play around, and then I'll say, okay, you're messing it up. Like, everybody go back down.
I'm kind of hearing like this is an opportunity for like a reality TV show. I know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like rehabs of, yep. Mhm.
Don't you see this?
Yeah, I mean, they have plenty for real houses.
Yeah, like hoarders, like Dollhouse.
Yeah, it would definitely be on
hoarders.
TLC for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it might go a couple seasons, but you get a good run out of it. You know what I mean? Move that bus. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'll show you pictures.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
I do want to see that.
But you're also on the board, right?
Yes.
Not just rehabbing dollhouses, although that's fascinating. You're on the board at Rowan Virtua SOM. How did you get involved? What is that experience like for you to be involved?
So I'm very much a very new at this. It was just a way to continue to be involved with the school that just gave me so much. I mean, like I said, I still talk to the dean. I still talk to a lot of the staff that were there when I was there as a medical student. And it was sort of a natural progression for me to continue on, especially since I'm practicing in the area. And again, the level of proudness that I have about being an alumnus of our school has just been so tremendous. And so I wanted to sort of give back to the community that I came from, and that's how I'm getting to be involved.
Why don't you give some advice to the next Kay Flannery out there?
Next Kay Flannery can be, I think the advice is don't ever let anybody tell you can't do something. Whether you're a woman, you're a man, you're a minority, whatever you want to do. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, and somebody tells you at any point you cannot do this, you're going to stand up and say, no, but I can, and figure out how you are going to show them. I mean, that would be the piece of advice that I would give somebody.
That's beautiful. I feel like we need to close on
I love
that
that.
because we can't get a better answer than that. So, Dr. Flannery, thank you so much for coming in today. It was such a pleasure having you.
That was short.
I hope I never have to see you, but if I do, I'll
please
I'll
send me a
pick you.
text. Yes.
Yeah.
Send me a text.
Is it okay if I say I love every guest? Because I think the cool part about this job, I guess, because I wouldn't even call this a job, what we're doing here, but the cool part of being able to do these interviews is really getting to connect with all the alums that we get to talk to and hearing all their stories. Because we know there's a lot of alums, but when you get to sit down and have one-on-one conversations, that's a game changer.
Yeah, but she was so down to earth.
I know.
Like, we expected so many. I mean, I expected it to be like, all right, what's this going to be like with this doctor and the surgery and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I know
that.
you're not really like into going to the doctor yourself.
I don't go to doctors myself either. But,
Yeah.
But no, but she was so down to earth. Did some cool stuff. I mean, like the Dollhouse thing that she did.
I know. I hope I never see her, but I would like to see, I hope I never have to see her. Let me
Yes.
preface it saying that. But I really liked her. Like, I want to be more involved in her world. Like, can I come over and do the Dollhouses with her?
Maybe.
I mean,
She might ask you to.
well, I'm a control freak too, so we probably wouldn't work well together.
Maybe your design styles would clash.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had a really great time, and we're looking forward to having more medical school alums on Beyond the Brown and Gold.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.